6, so we'll go ahead and call it work. So I don't know if we have a representative to speak from this cohort, or should we just go right to this?
I guess so.
Yeah, let's go straight to all righty. Perfect timing. Hop in there.
Okay, so let me gather my thoughts. So right now we're wrapping up recruiting season. This week we've taken students to different parts of town and done a road show. So we went up to Padrone Elementary on Tuesday. We brought a bunch of students that are 6th grade magnet students that kind of are in that area, so that they were able to talk about their experience transitioning from their elementary schools into the magnet program, and talk about transportation, because that's a really big barrier for a lot of families, and just trying to communicate, you know, that transportation does exist, and you know, this is their commute time in the morning, this is what their experience is, and then how successful they've been in the program transitioning. So it was really awesome. We had about like 10 students that were really eager to come, and they did a great job. They just did awesome. And then yesterday we went to Rodriguez Elementary, and all of the students that committed to me, they realized that they had orchestra the same night. So it was me and one other student, and we rocked it. So I guess that's just what it is. So yeah, I think it was a smaller turnout at Rodriguez Elementary. That was our south location that we wanted to hold. And then tonight we're gonna have our last event here at Keeling. Just kind of inviting. It's more focused for families living in Central Austin, but really anybody is welcome. And so we should have a decent panel. I don't think I'm competing with orchestra tonight. No. At least it's guitar. But they're right after, so it should be fine. So we're hoping to have a pretty good turnout tonight, just to, again, have families be able to ask those questions. A lot of the feedback that I got, and I'm curious, you know, from parents who have experienced this, was the showcase is a great event, but it can also be very overwhelming. And for families that don't know maybe too much about our program, don't have a lot of other friends or family members who have gone through the program, it's a lot to take in. And so they really enjoyed being able to come to these more intimate Q&A sessions, and they got to hear from the students a little bit more. I think that's like the biggest appeal. We could talk all we want, but hear it from the kids, it was a stronger voice. So yeah, I'm excited to be done with recruiting. And January we'll be starting our admissions testing for the next group of, for the incoming students that are applying. As far as our current students, finals is happening, and for finals it's really just for high school credit courses, so for most of our 6th graders probably don't experience anything for finals unless if they're in a language course, but I believe they took them earlier. And so next week is MOI. And Mr. Estes is here, so he could talk about the MOI schedule.
Still working on MOI schedule, but Monday students will be taking their math MOI, and then Tuesday reading. Wednesday I'll catch any student that may have missed Monday or Tuesday.
6th grade parents don't know what
MOI
MOI
is
stands
middle
for.
of the year assessment.
Okay.
Middle of year, yeah.
Yes.
So it's basically like a prep for STAR. They're going to take their STAR in May or April. April is for 8th grade
and
math
7th grade
and reading, and 7th grade writing. They take their administration end of April, right?
Yes.
And then there's the social studies science for 8th grade test that happens in May, and
Math
all
and
of
reading for
the other grade levels, math and reading.
Yeah. So we'll do MOI Monday and Tuesday. Any students that may miss Monday or Tuesday will hold a makeup session on Wednesday. So hopefully all your students will be here, because those scores have to be reported to district by Thursday.
do we do with the data, Mr. Preston?
What do we do with the data? So when we get back after winter break, we get to welcome our teachers back on campus with a MOI data dig. So we will meet as departments and just look over the data from our students and how they performed on MOI. The good thing about MOI is we scan them here and we get the scores immediately. Like we scan them in the system, and the program that they use, it immediately tells us how students performed. And then in January, we'll meet with the teachers and we'll go over how our students performed, what TEKS or standards they may be struggling with, and see how we can incorporate that in their lesson plans leading up to STAR or for a second semester. And then if there are any students that need additional intervention, we'll be working with those students to help bring them up as well.
So it's like a benchmark, it's not
Yes.
part of the curriculum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not grading per se, but
Correct.
useful for teaching.
Mhm.
Yeah, it definitely helps us determine our groupings when we want to try to do in-class interventions, or determine how what areas students are struggling in, so that we have plenty of time to address those issues. And it is the middle of the year, so maybe some of that is already going to be covered in the curriculum in the spring, but it helps give us a baseline.
Is it the exact same as the beginning of your test, or is it a different?
They don't have a beginning of the year test, they have an SLO.
Yes.
Okay.
So an SLO is a student learning objective, and that is, it's very different. It is a curriculum-based assessment,
Some of which teachers create on their own, knowing what they're going to teach throughout the year. There are a few teachers that pull from the district SLO, but majority of them are teachers create their own.
yeah, it's basically like the pre-test, post-test, concept of, what information have you already come here with, and then what value added, through the curriculum did you gain.
I think they do it at the end of year two, don't they?
Yeah,
Something
so it's the same test that they take at the end of the year.
Somewhere there's, I know they do some at the beginning, and I wasn't sure if that was used to measure, how much growth they have over the year, or what the.
Yeah, so the SLO is specific to each student's growth, and so at the beginning of the year, end of the year, and then the benchmark is specifically
So
like
more
STAR
readiness, yeah.
related.
Okay. Great, thank you.
So the SLO is with the teacher evaluation, it's.
Yes,
it is a part of the teacher
yeah, it's part of the teacher evaluation, yeah.
Do the students get individual results from these MOI tests? Like, will you say, student A, you got these scores? Or is it just all conglomerated data that the teacher's like, we need to teach this better?
We're gonna be evaluating it as a whole, department, like for general purposes in January, but the teachers have access to all the data, so, it's gonna be probably dependent on each of the teachers on how they share that and what the purpose is, cause some of the assessments are really covering material that the students have not been exposed to, so we don't want them to
Sure.
if they got a low score, it's okay, but we really have to see what specific area did they get the low score in, because if it is about content that they've already taught, have already covered in the curriculum.
Give them all just back your test. Your test would be great, but.
Right, no, yeah. That's about it, and then we're wrapping this up, so, new semester, we'll be doing course book, updates in January, and, students can start thinking about what courses they would like to start taking for next year. Yes, we already have to think about that. Counselors will be visiting social studies classes in February, I believe, like mid-February. And there'll be an opportunity for students to watch videos of the different elective courses that we have. We are making some changes and updates to the videos and the content. There might be some of your favorite electives that might disappear temporarily, but we're playing with the idea of possibly rotating offerings to just offer more variety. What we end up finding is that 8th graders end up taking everything that's offered during a certain period, and, so we're trying to play with it a little bit to see, does, every course have to be offered every single year? We already have a class like political parties, that's on a rotating basis, that's according to election years. So, it's possible that some things might change or disappear, but it might be temporary, so, just thinking about that with your child, we did our best to try to get our students' top 5, requests in. Sometimes that doesn't always happen, and we have to move farther down the line, so your child will still pick 15 courses. So sometimes that's the biggest, confusion or hurdle of like, I'm only gonna take 5 electives next year, or 3 electives depending on if they're year-long electives. Why do I need to have this huge list? But we definitely use that to to grow certain programs, but then also, if there's certain limitations in the schedule, we at least wanna try to meet the students' needs somewhere, down the line, but that's the best we can do.
Is there a Chromebook update, like where, do all the 8th graders have them, do some of the, like where are we at?
Yes.
Everybody
Officially, all 8th graders who returned their forms, of
Uh-huh.
course, have their Chromebook.
And what about the lower grades?
We collected most of them from the 8th grade teachers who had them, and we're in the process of rolling those down to 7th and 6th graders. Teachers.
They'll stay in the classroom,
Yes.
so they won't be issued to 6th and 7th grade students personally, but they'll be available for use.
Very cool. I wanted to circle back to the topic you raised about feedback on the showcase, and this is like a great forum for
Yeah.
feedback. So I wanted to give my feedback, because as you know, I went with my oldest and was just back again a couple of days ago. So I agree that it is somewhat overwhelming, but in a good way, because my kid was just like wandering around, so I'd ask him like, what do you want to do, what electives do you want to check out? And he's like, I don't really know. So what would be interesting is if there was like a path or a suggested
Route?
Right,
Okay.
yeah, and then it provides a little bit of structure, and then you can
Guidance.
deviate from it as you see interesting things. But that'd be my only feedback. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious if folks remember or have their own experiences with the showcase from their children's, perspective, or
As a new family
Right.
coming in, more guidance, less guidance, more structure, less structure, there's a lot of different routes
I
to go.
helped check in people, and so many people said, well, what do I do?
Uh-huh.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure what I was supposed to tell them, but
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, well, here is, a list of everything, so just pick out what you wanted to learn more about.
Yeah.
And try and just,
Stop by the
stop by
classroom.
classes, and that's where the students are, and go talk to the students, and,
Mhm.
but I think that maybe when we promote I don't know, if there's a way to like, do a suggested,
Yeah.
this is what it's supposed to be, or this is what it's supposed to be for.
Mhm. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's.
I know one thing was watching the videos on the website before the showcase is really helpful, because that's what, that triggered, my daughter's in 7th grade,
I
she
wanna see
still,
that, I
she
wanna
still
see
wants
that.
the same elective that triggered her in 5th grade.
Oh,
She
okay.
still wants, she hasn't gotten it yet,
Oh.
but she still, because, and I was gonna say this too, that whole 15 selection of electives, it really, band is a big hurdle for that, because there's only certain periods that you can have band. Some of the band and orchestra, I'm guessing the same way, can like completely rearrange their schedule, and that's been our hurdle, has been band, but it's okay.
It's worth it.
Absolutely, because she got things that she's very interested in, she's learned new things out of, her 15 selections, so
Right.
it's,
Sometimes it
she's
pushes students
never had
outside of their
something
comfort
she didn't
zone.
like. Yeah, and there's things that she didn't expect, and she really loved the classes, so she's never had a class she didn't love.
Well, I was just gonna, so I came to the showcase, but it wasn't exactly clear what was the purpose of it. Was it just to show the variety of things that are available, or, like for me, I was really most interested in what the process was for, application and all
Okay.
that kind of stuff. And so maybe having, and I don't know, like, maybe making the purpose more clear, or making, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but that was kind of my take. You walk in and it is overwhelming, and you're like, okay, so what am I supposed to get out of this?
Right.
wasn't quite clear. I think
The whole thing was new to us, because
Yeah.
you have just
I think
two
that's what they
you
were
have like
doing, something like
one
that.
class in elementary in here, I didn't know about A day, B day.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
like
lot.
4 electives, 4
Mhm.
core classes. I do now, but, I mean, it's just kind of, at that time, when I go back to that time, maybe, I don't know, like the middle school 101 talk, and how to apply, and this is the structure, and then
And
this
then
is what's at the
release.
showcase.
Yeah, I think that was a couple of suggestions that I've heard before of having kind of like introduction piece. One of the, and we could kind of do it like in rotating segments, maybe as people arrive, you know, small group, and then kind of release people. So we could kind of think about different structures. We've asked teachers as well their feedback on, you know, innovative
And even
ideas.
what the differences
completely
between
restructuring it.
academy, magnet, what
Mhm.
classes are common, what aren't. like-
Yeah, so some of those, you know, more detailed nuances, we end up covering in like the roadshow piece,
Mhm.
And that, obviously, we don't hit as many, you know, families during that time, it's a more intimate, gathering. But, yeah, I could definitely take all that feedback, and we definitely put some of that information in the brochure. We try to put like a sample schedule and, the different, the whole school, you know, academy and magnet program, like how we work together. And so I think that's, thank you.
Well,
Some things to think
It
about.
might be out there and I missed it totally.
No, but I think it's worthwhile to explore further, because, that's definitely not a singular sentiment, and so, it's definitely valuable. Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
That's true.
we did, like, we visited, like, all the showcases, like, when all the middle schools went to, I think it was Fillmore last year, Library last year. And, like, we did all the touches that we could, and I didn't even think to go on the website, so
Oh, okay.
our road show is just kids, not parents, and so that would have been
Yeah, ours too.
really super helpful if I had known to go and look at the videos, although I might already have angst about all the electives anyway, so maybe I
Yeah.
would have more.
Well,
But
it's-
just all the information that's on there,
And the
I-
kids produce the videos, so
Right,
it's
no, I-
really amazing.
I'm sure it's phenomenal. Going to the showcase, I didn't think it was, I mean, it was overwhelming, but I was just impressed by the kids that we talked to, and wasn't necessarily the topics or the place. It's like, oh, could my child do this? Do I want this for
Right.
them? So I think a little intro would be a good idea. I don't know about doing it in groups, but since you do all those awesome videos, like you did at the back to school night where we did the video in the SMEA, maybe you have several monitors constantly rotating to give parents an orientation video,
Yeah.
and then they go explore.
Because it does feel more like a drop-in, come and go.
Right,
You
and
know,
it's meant
so-
to be a come and go event, stay however long you want.
Yeah.
And then the only other piece of information, I got a ton of information when I went, like, at the end of my 5th grade year to the KMAG meeting about how this is gonna go, so I would have loved that sooner to help, I mean, we left the decision up to our child, but I would have even liked that sooner to help, you know, say,
Before
here are
the
things you should
application
consider
process.
when you make, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that's really, I can like envision like a staging area, like a cafeteria, put screens up and pick up a handout and watch the video and then, yeah.
and parents that wanna do that can, and the ones that don't, I mean,
Right.
rather than a big meeting that you, like, are locking time, I mean, that's
Right.
why they did a big meeting to kind of ground you,
Yeah,
which was good information, but I can see the logistical problems. with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, good insight, well, thank you. So, we're gonna move right along in the agenda. Next up, we have Ms. Gonzalez with the parent liaison.
First of all, thank you to everyone who came to the Thanksgiving dinner. We served over 400 plates of food, so that was awesome. That was even more than last year, about 100 people more. And tomorrow, we have our teacher appreciation luncheon, so again, thank you to everyone who's donated in any way. Thank you to all the parents who are participating in the Secret PAL. That's going really well too. It's just been a really busy week for us here. You know, kids and teachers and parents. It's all one big family. But when you think about it, it's all done in 1 week and you're done. So that's the good thing. But again, thank you so much for all the support that you give Keeling teachers and the students. We greatly appreciate it. And I'm wishing you all a happy holiday, and we'll see you all in January.
Thank you.
And again, thanks again, Ms. Gonzalez, for the you have out for us. That's great.
Oh, not a problem.
Question over here.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the teacher appreciation and the secret law, where is that information? Is that in the Herald or?
It is in the Hornet Herald.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Like to sign up or?
Yeah, well, I signed up, I'm not getting them, so I try and I don't go out there and look as often as I should, so I didn't realize I'd like to do something like this.
Okay, so if you'll see me after the meeting.
Are you on the KMAG Facebook group?
I'm not on Facebook at all.
Okay,
That's
I
why.
know that a lot of people aren't, but
Yeah.
really it's a great, that's where all the information is put. So,
I have to ask her.
I think it's also on the website.
The Hornet
Underneath
Herald
parents.
is on, the
Yeah.
Hornet Herald itself is on our main page.
Yeah.
And so it has all of the Hornet Herald, so if you missed something, you can catch it all through there.
Yeah, I need to make that.
And then
regular.
there's links to the PTA website as well on our main site. So if there's a secret PAL thing, you can email the PTA president or, I think there's a link right there.
There is, and that's usually how I do, because I don't do Facebook either, and that's usually how I get that information is either through the Hornet Herald. There's also a calendar on the website, and a lot of that stuff is on the website too. So I just kind of keep it as bookmarked and just check
I didn't
it.
see it on the calendar, but
Yeah, it's just, it kind of is random, so I'll just
Yeah.
kind of just check everything. But usually I can find, pretty much everything that's going on through the website in some way. The Hornet Herald actually is on the website, so you can link through there as well, so.
Do we know why that Hornet Herald sign-up process doesn't always work? Is it just some mysterious online issue that?
That's
I
a
know
good
a
question.
bunch of
That's
parents
a
that
good
are like,
Gita question.
I requested, I sent it in, I sent it in, and it just, like mine worked. I mean, I
Yeah.
signed up and it worked, and I'm sure that happens the vast majority of the time, but I just wondered if it's like specific servers or if people are just spam filtering it and don't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gita Suggs is the one that runs the Hornet Herald and all of that,
Yeah.
pretty much, and so that's a
Yeah, I would
good
just
question.
say, just to continue to email, the webmaster's email on the site, if you are having trouble, so that she can kind of do her
Thing.
Magic.
magic.
She's magical.
Is someone training with you, because isn't this her last year?
It is.
She, I believe, is gonna continue to be
Yeah.
our webmaster.
She probably will.
Okay, and do the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's a big job.
She's really good.
Yeah, yeah.
She's
All right.
So we're going, we're gonna have Michelle Manning from the Shadowing Committee come and, or maybe we'll just be, informal, like you can come up or stay there and just give an update on it.
Which is easier for you? Should I come up to the front or can I stay here?
Either way.
Sitting works great for me.
Okay.
I sat kind of to the back, so. But shadowing, I am in charge of shadowing this year for all the incoming 5th and potential 6th graders. We have a great committee this year. We are not making too many changes from last year, so we expect that we'll probably have another 350 plus shadows come through and approximately another 200 hosts, just like we did last year. And does everybody know what shadowing is? Maybe your student shadowed? I know when my daughter shadowed, that was when she decided, okay, the showcase was wonderful, she loved it, she loved the vibe of Keeling, but as soon as she shadowed, she's like, I want to go here. And so that's why I volunteer for this committee, so that other kids can have the same experience. We do need a few volunteers. You probably have seen it, it's in the Hornet Herald. Just the, not one of the committee positions, but just the people that help wrangle the kids in the morning, and then also there's afternoon shifts, there's a sign-up sheet, you just pick which slot you like. Do you like mornings, do you like afternoons? It's a lot of fun, that's what I did for 2 years, I was the afternoon wrangler, Lisa.
I came every day, and I
Uh-huh.
wasn't even signed up. The best volunteer experience I've ever done.
It is so cool.
Amazing to see the kids when they come in the door in the morning, and then see the smiles on their faces when they leave in the afternoon. It is, they're scared to death when they walk in the door. And then when they leave, they're just like, this is awesome.
Yeah, they're
And
like
so
shell-shocked.
excited about everything they did. And it's amazing, it's an amazing volunteer opportunity.
So what do you do as a volunteer? What is?
For the wrangler position, the assistant wrangler position, so like Lisa's actually our lead wrangler in the afternoon. And we are looking for a co-chair for her and also for Carrie, because, you're awesome, but it always helps to help train in a new person too.
No, it's
I'm,
not me.
I'm the Lisa that.
Are
Yeah,
you
this
Lisa?
is Lisa.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry,
I'm
Nancy.
I've never
I was
done it
like-
Nancy,
before,
Lisa,
but
no
I
wonder,
do.
I've been calling you Lisa this whole time. Nancy was there every
That's okay,
day.
I respond to anything.
Yeah.
Lisa, I'm glad you're here.
And my understanding is that I am a like there's somebody else who's done it in the past, and we're, between the two of us, we're gonna cover.
Yeah, me, I'm on there, and then I'm also recruiting someone else, and Nancy, if Nancy will be there in the morning or afternoons. But, so we have a lead person who's in charge of either the morning or the afternoon. And then the sign-up sheet that's on the Hornet Herald is for people to, basically, you're in there and you're literally wrangling kids. The kids come in, you're the face of the shadowing committee, you say, "Hi, how was your day?" They're shell-shocked if it's the afternoon, but give them about 5 minutes, and then they get all bubbly and happy, it's fun. If it's the afternoon shift, they come in, you check them in, make sure they're here, and then you hold them in the library until either we walk them out to their bus or their parent comes to pick them up. Pretty
They do
simple
a
job.
survey.
And they do a survey too, yes, and that's gonna be online this year, we already talked. If you're in the morning shift, Carrie, I've never done the morning shift. Nancy, have you done the morning shift? You wanna tell
So
that one?
morning is you check them in and you just pair them with their shadow, or their
Their host.
Their
Their
host.
host, sorry,
Mhm,
their
their
host. And if there's not a host, then you contact Ms. Patel and she hunts down someone else if the host
That's when everybody has a break and you get up and you move around.
The main thing in the morning is Michelle does an amazing job, or she will do an amazing job. She does already. Of pairing the shadows with the host, so everything's kind of already pre-planned. So as a wrangler, you're just checking in and making sure that the students that are supposed to be here are actually here. And if you start noticing it's close to 7:30 and the host has not come yet, we are gonna try to do backup hosts. Last year, I think we had like 3 kids that just loved doing it,
Yeah.
and they were like our go-to kids. So if they were available, we kind of just signed them, and had them pair up. And so there are like last-minute issues that happen with students getting sick, or whatever the case might be. So we might go to try to find the host, but otherwise we have the backup students.
It's always
And it
6th
runs-
graders,
It's always 6th grade. Well, it's
usually.
our
They push
current,
6 to
our
6
applying
instead of
5th graders are gonna be paired with our 6th graders. We do have a few applying 6th graders that are gonna be paired with 7th graders.
Oh.
So that's a fairly limited number, because the majority are 6th graders.
So it's like an
going to be
hour
6th grade.
commitment in the morning and an hour.
It's even less, it's like 40 minutes in the morning.
Yeah, morning's the easiest.
Yeah.
It is, because
But
the big
afternoon,
thing
you
in
don't have to get up.
the big in the afternoon is making sure they get on the bus, the right bus. That's the biggest
Yeah.
thing, is just because sometimes the buses change in the afternoon, and so it's just really making sure they get on the right bus, and they're, because they're kind of nervous about that, and just, that's the biggest piece in the
So
afternoon.
we definitely need somebody here to be able to, after the bus riders have completed their survey, to say who's riding a bus, and we have a list as well of which students are riding a bus and what bus number they are supposed to be on, so all of that's kind of there. But then actually escorting them out to the front and making sure that they get on the bus. We probably will have a pass that shows that this is a shadow student, so the bus drivers allow the students onto the bus.
Yeah, and we usually mark their name tag too, with their bus number and things like that too, just to
In the
be able to
morning.
identify. We do that in the morning, and then they stay with their shadow or their host all day long, and then the host brings it back in the afternoon, and then we take them to the bus.
How the thing is, the bus ride was actually even easier last year, because we had fewer bus riders, and we're doing the same thing this year. Every year we tweak it. We had a great setup last year, we're tweaking it a little bit for this year, it just keeps improving. You had much nicer.
Oh, how are the hosts selected?
The hosts actually will sign up when we first get back after the break, and I need to email review this. The English teachers will usually present something, a letter to the current 6th grade students, asking them if they want to host. They have until the 20th, I believe, the 16th, excuse me, to sign up. And we just randomly, as from that point, as long as it's the correct grade and gender, we do match girls to girls and boys to boys, then we just randomly assign down the list of hosts. But it's a fun job. If you have a sixth grader, you might want to consider him or her hosting. It's a lot of fun.
Which class should we?
I know,
Like
yeah.
to sign up for that?
First day back.
Got it.
Graders like.
Or English
Oh,
class.
yeah,
Class.
it'll be through their English tutor.
Yeah.
English.
Yeah, first English class back, they should hear, and they should get the letter. And there's a little online spot, they'll go to the website and actually enter in their information, including their class schedule, which is important for us. We have, on our committee, we have a team of 3 awesome schedulers. We're excited this year. Last year, and I think also the year before, it was done by one scheduler. Stacy, poor Stacy, by the end of
She was amazing.
her eyes were bleary. She did a wonderful job, left great notes for us, and also helped us decide the best way to divide her job. So we have 3 schedulers that will work in shifts. And we met actually on Tuesday, and they are, oh my goodness, they were so impressive and efficient, and I'm like just happy. You guys will work together as a team wonderfully, and of course they're happy because scheduling is an off-site only job, and for them, it worked out very well. Me, I like being on site seeing the kids, but that's me. But the schedulers are the one that match the host to the shadows, and then they prepare the little sign-up sheet that's used in the mornings to actually pair everybody up.
And it's like a Monday through Friday for a certain amount of weeks? Or something?
It's the
Yes.
month, we're gonna start the Tuesday, January 28th,
Mhm.
and we're going until February 28th. The
Right.
only days, I believe, that we're not doing it are February 14th and 19th.
17th.
Or
Yeah,
17th.
the 14th and 17th,
14th and
because we're off those days. But it's 22 days, and you know, I love numbers, I don't know about you guys, but 22 days, and we had 138 volunteer shifts. Yay! But we have a great crew of volunteers, and what usually happens when you come up to work one morning or an afternoon, you usually have so much fun that you sign up for more shifts.
You do.
Yeah, right? You know?
It really is just watching the kids come in and just watching them have an experience that, you know, because they're so nervous coming in and they don't know anything about it, and then seeing them afterwards, they are kind of shell-shocked or just exhausted because they've been changing classes all day long and just overwhelmed. But they all are happy and they're excited. There's always one class that they just are, you know,
They're
loved.
fired up about
I think last year as well, we had our student council members up in the front, welcoming, I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Yes, I think they were the ones that kind of
They
led them
helped
back.
kind
They
of
helped
run
bring
the
them from the front
students
door
to the library.
to here too, so,
and that was nice.
yeah.
And I don't have a solution, but one of the rough parts of that day for my child was the bus ride, because she didn't know anybody and everybody had friends, so then she was convinced she'd only come to Keeling if I picked her up every afternoon. She was like, that's not happening. Then I'm like, well, then don't go. You know, so we had this kind of, so I don't know if we should just like the bus also, like when we leave them on the bus, maybe have the kids who are always with their friends say, if you see a new kid, try to leave a spot to sit with somebody new. I don't know. I think that was hard, the social part of the bus.
Definitely, I think, you know, there's,
If we could just guide them a little, like, that part, just from our experience. I think she liked the day, although there was a gun drill and she didn't hear that it was a drill. That was tough too, but she still took you, so even after this.
That's good.
look into different options.
Yeah, I know you're doing a lot already, so I didn't even want to bring it up.
Look, what usually happens is that the bus driver is in charge, so they have the kids sit pretty close to them, so they make sure that
Yeah.
shadow gets off at the right stop.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it's
When
not
you're
like
down
they
that
can
part. Yeah, they usually sit right in
They sit in
front.
front.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Maybe have two shadow kids sit together or something. Maybe just talk to the bus drivers.
We don't have that many bus riding shadow
Yeah.
kids. We
Yeah.
might have 1 to 2 a day last year, maybe, I think one day we had 3 actually, or 4, but that was like the max.
They usually always sit at
And
the
they're
front of the
not on the
bus
same
and.
bus.
They're
yeah,
not on the
and
same
it's-
bus,
yeah.
so it's really just, we just don't have that many people. But I like the idea. I'll
I
have to
don't know.
think it through.
I don't know
I'll
if it's
have to process it
just
for a
thought
minute.
I'd.
Any other questions about shadowing? I hope you guys sign up, it's a lot of fun. And Lisa, we'll
Yeah, I was
talk
gonna say, I
soon.
may have questions for you, but I don't know that
Yeah,
everybody needs
yeah,
to.
no, we'll talk.
So we'll just
Thanks,
keep
Michelle.
reposting it on Hornet Herald, I'm assuming.
Yes, and actually our volunteer coordinator, Amy Constant, will also be putting something out on Facebook. I probably already sent something to Gita, a timing issue. And then I have an email that we need to send out to you and Ruby about the hosts. Other than that, we are rolling, and we have, as of Monday night, we had 60 shadows already registered. 2 came through the Spanish application, and we are getting almost all the AISE student numbers. I think we're missing like 4.
Okay.
So, isn't that great? And I always like numbers, so the more data we can give, the better we can tweak the program in the future, so.
And I love that you're compiling the data for us. Thank
Yes,
you.
you're welcome.
I love data too, and if other people can help me with it, that's great.
Definitely great work, I can tell you from my child's firsthand experience, because I have an incoming 6th grader, it was very eye-opening for him, and again, much like the feedback you received, that's when he really knew. He'd gone to the showcase, he was really impressed by the kids and the electives, but the shadow made it more tangible for him. Like, okay, maybe I can do this, like, it's not a foreign
Yeah.
world,
Same with
right,
mine,
so,
same
yeah.
exact thing for me.
I do actually have one other kind of broad shadow question, and I'm sure there are all sorts of reasons for this, but what is the reason that we let everybody shadow rather than only offering shadowing for the kids that are actually accepted? And I know that Fillmore does it that way as well, but Lamar, for example, they're not offered an opportunity to shadow until after they're expected, and it seems like it cuts down on the chaos and the volume.
I mean, we want to be able to encourage all students to experience it, and if there's a short turnaround between being accepted and making a commitment, and so majority of the students need to have an experience, and so they can have an experience here, they can have an experience at Fillmore or Ann Richards or Lamar or wherever, and then have those, experiences kind of in the back of their head when they do get those acceptances in the letter, and then it's like a week turnaround. We do it right before spring break, they can mull it over during spring break, and then right after spring break, that Friday it's due, so it's not a lot of time, really.
And Lamar actually does offer their spots earlier.
Yeah, they have an earlier
small,
deadline as well, so.
And
part of
I
it
think
is
it's great,
logistics, and
I-
part of it is, just kind of opening it up for students that, if they don't make it this year, they might have had this experience, maybe they do wanna try for it.
And they might be hesitant to apply without having
that, yeah.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Next up, if we have a member of PTA here, I don't think so. All right, so, would someone like to move to approve the minutes?
So everybody should have a copy of the minutes on their table, so just take a look over that. Our last meeting was mostly about high schools. But we just need a motion to approve the minutes. Okay. Motion. We need a second. Second, thank you. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right,
Minutes
awesome.
approved.
With that, just before we adjourn, we'll call out a couple of important dates listed bottom here. Or actually, I'll just call your attention to those. Next KMAG meeting is January 16th, so enjoy your holiday season. I'm sure your kids are excited about the time and the holiday as well, with parents. So that will go ahead and adjourn and call time at 8:15. Thank you.
At the most recent PTA meeting, they mentioned that KMAG and PTA were gonna merge, and that KMAG, would have a seat at the board table, but that the 2 organizations are not gonna be 2 organizations, but 1
It's
organization.
an ongoing discussion, yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely talking about the best
Okay.
way to bring everybody together.
Okay.
We wanna make sure that the magnet program is still represented among, being supported, which I'm sure that it will be. But we're just trying to figure out the best path
It's
to move
just hard to
forward.
go to 2 meetings,
I haven't
like
heard
in 2
anybody say
minutes and
that
2.
they're not for that. Everybody, after that meeting, everybody was like, yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
There's a lot of history
Seems positive.
way before I was here, even with my other child, like about why it started that way. And I think that they were good reasons, but now it
I'll
seems
say
like.
that there are Fillmore parents who
Yeah.
kind of make fun of this, that I've heard, and they just say like, oh, well, a Keeling, they have to have 2 separate meetings, because they're much more integrated, And I think with all the school closures and talks of equity, like to still have this in today's times is a symbol. And I mean, it's my opinion, completely my opinion. I come to both meetings, and it's just, I think from a governance standpoint, but more, you know, like minutes, note-taking, getting speakers, parking, coming, one, but more than from a governance, from an equity standpoint, I think we need to be for all students.
I think
We need to
everybody's
set
for
that
it.
example for our kids.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to,
Everybody's for it.
we're
We're just
meeting
trying to-
that
It's more the
best way.
logistics, I
That's
think.
just my, I just want
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah, yeah.